What is going on, Ravens flock, and welcome back here again to another episode of the Ravens Way podcast. Joining me, as always, is Voss. Voss, how are we doing tonight? How are we feeling? How are the vibes? How are the vibes during this bye week?
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Really looking forward to this slate, super wildcard 6-game slate without having to stress out about the Ravens. You don't get this opportunity too many times. Either the season's over and you're wishing that you were in the postseason, or you're playing the first round and you're worried about, an upset or, just losing the game. And this week we get to sit back and relax and lick our wounds and heal up and scheme up. And, hopefully should be some good games this weekend. We'll come back to that, but I struggled picking against the spread most of these games. A lot of them are really, really tight lines.
I really like the money lines in a lot of these games. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple nice contingent money lines for this weekend, but the spread is tough, especially the Kansas City Dolphins game. I don't even want to touch that one just because of the weather, and then the Buffalo game is apparently bad weather, and it's some of those are tough. Some of those are tough to pick, but as you said, we'll recircle to that here at the end. But starting off for us, Voss, the 10 most important Ravens. Do you anything you want to do before that, or are we?
No. I think we did most of the housekeeping stuff. Dalvin Cook's going to break off 6 80-yard runs over the next 3 games, and other than that, we'll just keep it moving. We were going to do like end of season awards. We did that halfway. We did that 3/4. We could do that, I guess, at the very end of the season. Hopefully after the Super Bowl. But I kind of took this idea a little bit from Jonas, who had the top 20 most important published for his Baltimore Banner. And I said, that'd be pretty cool. So this is specifically for who are the most important players for the Ravens to make that Super Bowl run. And before we go to our number 10, I'll do my honorable mentions. You can do yours. Quite a few honorable mentions. Brandon Stevens, lockdown ability. Justin Tucker with the clutch factor. Morgan Moses, obviously, pass protections at a premium. Rashad Bateman, really nice to have a tertiary threat that can move the sticks on third down. Isaiah Likely's really brought something to the offense with his yak ability. Odafe Owe, if he can get back healthy, bring some juice off of that weak side, or strong side, I should say. And then Harbaugh, his fourth down aggression. I think they need to pick their spots, but certain games they're going to need to be maybe more aggressive than when the regular season. Mike McDonald, does he have any new wrinkles? And then Todd Monken. Want to see his route combinations are probably going to be key. Passing offense wins in the postseason. I forget who said it this week. I was reading something. I think it was actually my buddy Josh, who we had on, or Josh Reed, my colleague. He interviewed Aaron Schatz used to be the guy that invented DVOA. And he was like, Aaron was like, I don't know why some coaches have this magical fantasy that somehow running the ball and stopping the run is more important in the postseason than in the regular season. It's a passing league. It's a passing league in the regular season. It's a passing league in the postseason. But anyway, those are my honorable mentions before we get to our 10-1 countdown.
Yes, so for me, topping it off is Arthur Mollett. Just during these postseason runs, there's a lot of teams that are going to put their best playmaker in the slot, and having a nickel that can go out there and match up against tight ends and really important receivers that can move around. Teams like Stephon Diggs. I mean, it's gonna come down to that. I think that's a really important matchup to go on throughout this postseason. And then the other two I'm gonna have, I only had 3. The other 2 is going to be Kyle Van Noy. Obviously, he's produced well throughout the season. He's very important, but I think there's other players who may have more theoretical impact for us. And then the last one we do is Travis Jones, just being able to go out there and relieve Michael Pierce. And I think that's going to be very, very important to our postseason success.
Yeah, really good call there with Jones. I wanted to find a way to put him on my list. Couldn't quite get him up into the top 10. But, you get a second guy penetrating, and he's really come on strong the last month. So number 10 for me is Marcus Williams. Hasn't had necessarily the best year. He hasn't had a $14 million per year contract season necessarily. Struggled with injuries, struggled with tackling, played through some injuries. The ball hawking is still there. He had to pick against San Fran. He's got his hands on plenty of balls this season. And I think this is the kind of player that steps up in the postseason when you need him most, specifically when other teams, it's a must-win situation, and hypothetically, the Ravens get the game script in their favor, and they're trying to chuck the ball. Marcus Williams is a player that can turn the ball over, flip the field, put a game away, and also just being the last line of defense that unlocks the corners, makes Brandon Stevens' job a little bit easier, and so on, but also provides that security blanket over the top so you're not getting crushed on chunk plays, which the Ravens have done an outstanding job of this season.
Yeah, for me, and those are very valid. And I think he's a tad higher on my list. But for me, I'm gonna start off with Tyler Linderbaum, number 10. He's been an absolute workhorse in the pass protection game this season, and having him go out there and be a reliable offensive lineman, and kind of you see such growth and development from him from last year, and him being able to handle one-on-ones now a lot better, and him almost kind of that first game Cleveland came in kind of almost carrying the load a little bit for Ben Cleveland that first game. I think he's going to be really important, and especially in the screen game as well. Being if the Ravens offense can't get going downfield, how can they get plays going in the screen game and getting Linderbaum out in space? I think he's a very good chess piece there. So that's my number 10.
Call. Yeah, good call. I had him on my honorable mention. I forgot to mention my honorable mention, but yeah, I think he just really brings a stability to the line where he might not be dominating at the point of attack, but he just, he's a glue guy, keeping everybody kind of where they need to be. Number 9 for me, probably higher on most people's list, but for me, he's 9th. Roquan Smith. I think the intensity that he brings is valuable. He faded a little bit down the stretch. There's some struggles, in coverage a little bit, some tackling. But when he's playing at the peak of his powers, he is one of the best middle of the field coverage defenders in the league. And if he can, bring that to the table, I think that will be very valuable.
Yeah, I would agree. I think to your point, he did struggle a little bit down the stretch with dropping into his zones, but I think one of my thoughts and predictions is he's going to get another reception over these next couple of weeks in this playoff run. I'm feeling it, especially against these teams that love to go over the middle of the field. I feel like he does a lot of the film study, and hopefully get one to come his way. But number 9 for me, and the whole Ravens offensive line may be on this list for me by the end. I wouldn't be surprised, but number 9 for me is going to be Michael Pierce. Kind of to the point of Travis Jones earlier, you need somebody up the middle that can provide interior pressure, and he's one of them. And he's been so consistent all season, and he's extended now. I thought he was going to retire. I guess not. That's was surprising to me, but just having somebody out there in the middle that can push the pocket and get in the quarterback's face, because this is a ball out quick league. It's still a passing league, but it's also a ball out quick league. And if you can get somebody that can just disrupt that timing, it does a lot, especially against these teams that want to establish the run and do the wide zone stuff and the Shanahan and all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. He's had a really good year. The contract numbers came in lower than I expected, which is great. He's basically playing for, double the vet min next year, which is really good for a starting player. Just need, 2-3 penetrations a game, whether it's taking down a back in the backfield, getting them behind the chains that way, or just disrupting the quarterback. So good choice there. Number 8 for me is Odell Beckham Jr. He brings experience, probably more postseason experience than anybody on this roster, at least off the top of my head. He brings the confidence. He brings the hands. He can make those spectacular grabs, and he has a big playability. But I think he's the guy where, maybe in years past when things started going downhill in the postseason, they didn't really have that guy to turn to, that veteran to turn to, that can kind of get Lamar back on his game or give him a little bit of confidence to, throw a jump ball or something like that. So at some point they're going to need a big play from him, and I think he's going to be able to deliver based off of his career in the NFL, just making big plays when they need him most.
Definitely agree with that. He's way up. He is very high on my list. For me, number 8 is going to be right guard Kevin Zeitler. Just kind of the same point of Linderbaum. You need consistent offensive line play to be able to make a deep postseason run. And we saw a graph earlier sent in our chat that the defensive line talent is starting to overweigh the offensive line talent in the league. And some of these teams that we're going to go into, Kansas City, maybe seeing Miami again, Buffalo, even these teams with these really powerful interior pass rushers, you need the consistent offensive interior line play. So I think he's going to be another one of these guys. So you gotta rely on a little bit down the stretch. And say Morgan Moses isn't having his best game or Linderbaum isn't having his best game, you have somebody next to him that can provide some stability.
Yeah, good choice for sure. You could put all 5 linemen really on this list. I kind of cheated a little bit. We'll get to that when we get close to the top. So we're up to my number 7. Marlon Humphrey is my number 7 for me. He's had an inconsistent season, up and down. Gave up that big play to Pickens. First came back, got knocked out again, came back in again. But he has had moments of just completely locking down, shutting down the opposition, and really was playing his best before the most recent injury. If you can get him up to maybe not all pro Marlowe, but Pro Bowl Marlowe for the next 3 games, it's going to be really tough for these other teams to pass on the Ravens. Not only do they have the schematic advantages, but also to have the personnel advantage too. That's really the guy I think that can make that defense completely like a legendary type of defense if he does play at his best.
Yeah, very fair point. My number 7 is going to be Rashad Bateman. Kind of an inconsistent season. He had some stuff dealing with the offseason, all that stuff. But if he can come in here and have a really explosive postseason and be just another chain mover, another explosive player, that can really kind of take this Ravens pass offense, I think, over the top and put them in a position where they need to be. And you see definitely games like the last game against Miami. It was a really good performance, and obviously if he comes down with that one ball, he's probably going over 80 yards that game. So having him be out there and be just another difference maker would be pretty nice boost to the offense that's already rolling.
Yeah, no question. We've been kind of having him as our X factor pretty much all season. He's definitely the X factor, one of the biggest X factors for the postseason. Number 6 for me, the All-Pro defensive tackle, Justin Madubuike. No quarterback likes pressure in their face. He goes without saying. To your point about Zeiler and Linderbaum too, I mean, that's really what's helped them more gain some more confidence in the pocket. I think is just having the interior solidified. Madubuike, maybe not the most efficient as far as getting pressures per pass rush opportunity, but as far as getting quarterbacks on the ground when he hits them, one of the very highest conversion rates in the entire league. And, it is going to be a pass rush by committee, and he's a very pivotal, key, crucial part of that committee. He led the league in sacks this year, and a lot of that is the edges crashing down or A-gap blitz from PQ or Roquan or something like that, and then PQ gets to clean up. Or coverage holds up a little bit longer. I'm sorry, and Madubuike gets to clean up. He's a cleanup man, so keep cleaning it up.
Yeah, definitely fair points. My number 6 here is going to be Roquan Smith. To your point earlier about the leadership, the intangibles, all that stuff, and being able to be that coverage player that we paid him to be. I really think that him going out there and kind of setting the tone with Lamar and kind of keeping everything under control, kind of inversely to the 2019 season where they were just a little silly and goofy, and to be able to have somebody out there and kind of keep the team serious and keep the team have an edge to him, I think that's going to be really important. And then obviously him cleaning up anything that gets past the defensive line in terms of the run, and hopefully really clogging the middle of the field and letting these teams, to my point earlier I made, letting these wide zone teams have to go to the numbers instead of going in the middle of the field.
Yeah. The other point I forgot to make when I was giving my spiel about Roquan, he is the one that unlocks PQ. And PQ can be weaponized because he's playing next to Roquan, and that's a big advantage because he has the ability to be very disruptive when he's more of a freelancer, and Roquan gives him that ability. So number 5 for me, Jadeveon Clowney. We lamented the lack of the Ravens having a premier apex pass rusher on the roster for many years now, really. This season he has been that. Number 5 pass rush win rate in the NFL. He's not leading league in sacks, but he's getting home, and he gets home with violence, causing forced fumbles, knocking other quarterbacks out of the game, that sort of thing. Not that he's trying to, but he plays with a physical edge, and as we all know, the competition, the physicality ramps up in the postseason. He's a perfect kind of player to take advantage of that and not let the Ravens be bullied like they were in some previous games, because they do have some alphas now. I think he is that premier guy at this point. They need a big postseason from him, and I think they're going to get it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's weird because there's some people on my list where I'm kind of putting them on there more of like if they could be this player, like that would really boost the team more than it already is. So unfortunately, Clowney did not make my list because I already kind of expected him to be already an impact player. So my 5 is actually going to be the young Clowney, Odafe. Having him go out there and just keep doing what he's doing. He's averaging. I think this year he had 51 pressures, and so he's averaging 4 pressures a game. And for him to go out there and then keep doing what he's doing and hopefully get a couple sacks to add on, I think that would be a huge boost to the kind of, to your point, pass rush by committee. And we're going to get against these teams and having this uber athlete edge who can get home quick, hopefully, and get off the ball quick. I think that would really boost us.
Yeah, really hope he's healthy. Didn't practice again today. They still got another week, but that was the one kind of bad injury from that meaningless game. So yeah, I have OA high. I mean, they're kind of interchangeable, but it's the concept of you need a edge rusher to get in that backfield. Number 4 for me is the rookie receiver, Zay Flowers. Not only does he stretch the field, not only is he a viable red zone target because he's just so agile and just slippery in the end zone. He is the Ravens' number 1 receiver. He's been the Ravens' number 1 receiver this entire season, even when Mark Andrews was healthy. Leads the team in targets, and passing offense wins championships. So naturally, the number 1 receiver is going to be pretty high on the list.
Definitely agree with that. My number 4 is going to be Ronnie Stanley, protecting the blind side. I think that's going to be very, very important to keeping. If you have a good left tackle, it kind of makes everything else in the line a little less important and stressed. And I think him going out there and kind of continuing what he's been doing is playing good left tackle play, or at least above average. That Lamar not having to worry about that left side constantly being a turnstile, and the offense needing to constantly put a tight end next to him. I think that's a huge boost, and will do wonders in the drop back game.
Yeah, I will pretty much echo exactly what you said once I get to my second most important guy. Number 3 for me is Kyle Hamilton. He's just a takeaway machine. He caused that forced fumble in the postseason last year. He is the queen on the chessboard that allows all the other weapons to be deployed, and the splits this season are absolutely insane as far as the Ravens pass the success rate when he's on the field. They're like first in the league. When he's off the field, they're 30th. It's a dramatic drop. But just the way he can be deployed as a blitzer, as a leverage player containing the edge, and on the back end, the range he has, the ability to tip balls, all that stuff. It's just he is the defensive MVP this season by far, in my view. And he's one of those unicorns that other teams just don't have a matchup piece to counter. So he could be the key to having one of those historic defensive runs.
Definitely. My number 3 is going to be Odell Beckham. We paid him $15 million in the offseason, and the expectation with him was that coming here into the playoffs, the late stretch in December and into January, that he would be the one to kind of heat up and really, really kind of take over a little bit. So that's my expectation for him for this postseason run. I really do think he's going to be very important in high leverage downs, high leverage moments, big moments. It's 20-20. You need to go the length of the field to tie the game or take the lead. I think he's the one I'm gonna rely on a little bit because he's been there and he's done that.
Yeah, good call for sure. He and Zay are really the 2 guys at receiver. For me, number 2 is Ronnie Stanley. I went really high, to echo your points. If Lamar feels confident in his protection on the blind side, it has a trickle-down effect across the rest of the line. We've seen it so many times. If he's under duress from one side, he can overcome. If it's coming from both sides, it's tough, really tough. Young Cato, thank you for the compliment there. He's been up and down this year, really up and down, but he has had some of his best stretch of play in recent weeks, even on the rotation. That's fine. However, against the really, really premier pass rushers, edge rushers, whether it is Myles Garrett, if they reach him, or anybody, I don't think McCary can really give him much of a battle. That's where you need Ronnie to maybe say, I am the left tackle. Apparently he's been working on his technique. An offensive line guru probably can explain it better than I can, but your technique's your technique. If you can't anchor on the right side, I guess you have to change your technique to find a different way to anchor. If your right leg just can't hold up. All that being said, if he's at least serviceable, I think that would go a long way to making sure the offense stays on track and ahead of the sticks. Definitely.
My number 2 is going to be Kyle Hamilton. To your kind of echoing your points about having a chess piece on the board, having someone go out there and match up and eliminate some of these bigger threats. I think I'd love to see Kansas City and have him match up against Kelsey the way Kelsey has played this year. I think that'd be great, and that really would favor the Ravens. But you have just such a great playmaker and somebody that can be used in dropping off in zone, going to blitz. I just think that, to your point, the Ravens defense needs him. They need him pretty badly, and they just need more. All the playmakers, but obviously him, I think, in my opinion, the most out of everybody.
Sure. Yeah, I think he's the defensive MVP. Lamar's the offensive MVP and the MVP of the team and the MVP of the league. So obviously he's going to be number 1. He is the force multiplier. More than that, he's kind of the eraser. Something goes. Gus gets tackled for a loss, and you're chasing the sticks, 3rd and long. He can pick it up on his legs. We've seen him do it so many times. He gets what you need him to get, and his newfound ability to kind of buy time in the pocket, manage the pocket, and then look downfield for the explosive plays is just so key. But to me, the big thing for Lamar, stay poised. That has been the potential issue and some of the losses that they've had. He's done a great job of that this season, second half of this season in particular, reducing the fumbles, not playing frantic, not playing frazzled. Keep that up, and I don't think anybody can beat him. I really don't.
Yeah, I'd agree. My number 1 is Dalvin Cook. No, it's Lamar, obviously.
Kolar? Charlie Kolar?
Yeah, there you go, Kolar. Yeah, I just think that you gotta lean on him a little bit during this postseason run. I mean, the team, this is the best roster they had around him, and having him go out there and continue to be poised and continue to make quick decisions, and also they're always making the right decision, it seems like, at this point in the season. And to your point, league MVP, team MVP, first team All-Pro by the players, and now's the time to kind of cash in a little bit on having such a good roster. And I think it all starts with him. It always does start with him. And it's time. It is time.
There's 2 ways to win a Super Bowl in the modern NFL. First way is to have a rookie contract quarterback, so you have a loaded roster around him. Ravens didn't necessarily do a great job of that for a variety of reasons during Lamar's rookie deal. Second way is to have a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback. And the Ravens do have that. So, I'll speak for myself. I lamented some of the investments in non-premium positions because of the opportunity cost, because you couldn't field a roster with playmakers at all the premium positions around them if you are paying. Well, you can if you start borrowing money for future seasons with void years, which is how they did it this year. So wouldn't be the best way to do it, to keep it continually a top 5 roster, but they found a way to do it, and now is the time to capitalize. He's probably going to lose some coaches this cycle, this offseason. You're certainly going to lose some players this offseason. The time is now.
Definitely agree with that. And speaking of the timing is now, Wildcard weekend, boss.
Let's go, man. Let's go. I'll start at the top. Cleveland Browns favored by 2 at the Houston Texans. Point total is set at 44.5. Yuri, top line thoughts and where you're leaning, and what do you recommend betting the mortgage on?
So I was looking at their injury report earlier, and the Browns, like, half their team is injured. And before this, I thought I was like, for sure, like, Browns are gonna win. Like, there's just no shot they lose. And I still think they're probably gonna win in some sloppy game, but it's tough. It's tough seeing so many people injured for them. Well, I guess depending on how you look at it, but in terms of a matchup standpoint, they are certainly down a lot of guys, and a lot of guys are playing hurt. But it is the playoffs. It's just how it is, and if you can go, you can go, and you can't, you can't. But two props I like is one. I am going to take the Browns money line. I am feeling that. I still think they win, no matter who gets injured, as long as Cooper's out there, Flacco's out there, and Myles Garrett. I think just the Texans are just a little too young, a little too raw. Even though they have certainly surpassed my expectations for them this season. And then my prop of the game is Jerome Ford anytime touchdown. That's I've been riding that for a lot for the past couple of weeks. And then my lottery ticket parlay is the David Njoku to go over 60 yards, Jerome Ford touchdown, and Browns defense anytime touchdown. I feel like Stroud is probably he's been a great quarterback this year, but he's probably susceptible to a couple turnovers against a defense like this that kind of overmatches them, in my opinion. We'll see what happens with some of the guys on the defensive end that are questionable for the Cleveland. But
Ward is key.
I just feel like at the end of the day, Cleveland just has too much talent, even though they are banged up.
Yeah, I can see that. I definitely anticipate a low-scoring affair. I think both defenses match up well against their respective offenses. Interestingly, Cleveland has been the number one most pass-heavy team since Flacco took over, and his best game was against the Texans, but both of the Texans' high-end rookies missed that game. Stroud and Will Anderson, neither played. I really do think that the Texans' pass rush can get after Flacco with the Browns down to their third-string offensive tackle on both sides of the line. And I do kind of think that Stroud has some of that poise and moxie to be able to play against this team. Tunsil's pretty damn good left tackle. It's not like Myles Garrett's going to be in the backfield the entire game, I don't think. And Nico Collins is one of those players that has the raw athleticism to even outclass high-end corners. So and the other point that I think is important is the Browns receivers are really banged up. Cooper's hurt. Elijah Moore's hurt. Who's their third receiver? The rookie from Tennessee, he's hurt too.
Cedric Tillman.
Tillman. So I think Flacco's he might be due for a Flacco clunker kind of game. So I am taking the home dog against the spread and on the money line. Take the under, and David Njoku over 54 receiving yards is my prop that I like the best, because I think Njoku is going to be really factored. Let me let my dog out real quick before he barks through our entire episode.
Okay. I would agree with that. I think that I think there's a couple lines I do like in that game. I do like Amari Cooper to go over 5 receptions. I like that one as well. The Texans offense, I probably Nico Collins. You could toss in another probably. Man, it's tough because the Browns pass defense is so good. I've been flirting around with the CJ Stroud over 1.5 touchdowns and Nico Collins anytime touchdown. Those two parlays put together, I feel like sometimes those will cash in for you. Thoughts? Next game?
Yeah, next game we have on, and I still need to get that subscription unless you can send me an illegal stream for Peacock, because this game is broadcast only on Peacock. But Saturday night, Miami Dolphins at the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are laying 4.5 at home. Total is 44. and the weather forecast is calling for less than 10 degrees at kickoff.
Yeah, I really do not like this game in terms of putting a lot of money on it just because of the bad weather. But I am going to go. I think Kansas City wins this. I think they're just a little more experienced. They've been here before. And Miami obviously has not played in the cold a lot during the season. They're banged up. Miami's down edge rushers, the signing guys who were good in 2012 back on the roster and trying to squeeze some juice out of the guys. But I just don't think at the end of the day, Miami, even though Waddle's coming back, it looks like, and Mostert's coming back, Tyreek Hill revenge game, all those things are great, but I just don't know if there's going to be enough points scored in this freezing cold game, and I just like Kansas City a little too much for them to get bounced in the wild card. And then in terms of props, Devon Achane, anytime touchdown scorer. I like that. I like Pacheco anytime touchdown. I like Tyreek anytime touchdown. Probably not a lot of points scored in this game, but who knows? The weather they could just start scoring, and it just doesn't mean anything, and it turns into one of those classic wild card 30-27 type games. But I like those three, and then you can put them all together, and that'll be your lottery ticket for this one.
Yeah, I like your call on Pacheco for sure. I think this is a Pacheco game. Miami lost their top 3 edge rushers, but they still have some decent guys. They picked up Justin Houston this week. They had picked up JPP. They had Manny Agba on the roster, and who's the other one? Melvin Ingram. And I think against KC's offensive tackles, who have not been good at all this year, they should be able to survive. I think maybe what's more detrimental is it looks like Xavier Howard's probably going to miss this game again. And it's not that KC has, a surplus of playmaking wide receivers, at least not ones that reliably catch the ball. But I'm with you. I think Spags is going to heat up Tua. I don't trust Tua. And I'm with you. I trust Mahomes. I trust Reed. I will lay the 4.5. I think they do cover, And my prop, going with Pacheco, I will go with Chris Jones, 1 full sack, -110. I think he's probably should be able to get after that Miami interior pretty well.
Yeah, definitely.
Next one up is the biggest spread of the week. This is the first one on Sunday, Pittsburgh at Buffalo. Buffalo is 9.5-point favorites at home. The total is only 35.5. So expecting a low-scoring one here as well. And the forecast does call for some windy conditions, as Ravens fans know. The wind can get pretty significant up in Buffalo there.
Yeah. Old Patrick McCarry. I'm going to go pretty chalk here. I would like. Buffalo, as time goes on, as I'm marinating, the thoughts around their team, I think this is like a perfect script for Buffalo to get in this slugfest with Pittsburgh. They're not really much of that pass-heavy team these past couple of weeks. They've been kind of more of a run-heavy team. And in the weather, I think Buffalo probably lays it on Pittsburgh a little bit. But I don't see how Pittsburgh can go out there with their third-string quarterback, and who knows the status of T.J. Watt. I just don't see how Pittsburgh could pull off the dark magic one last time. Although I would certainly like for them just to take somebody else out. I'd love to play Pittsburgh in the next round. But the props that I'm going to go ahead and go with is Josh Allen, anytime touchdown. I feel like in this weather, he's going to go out there and probably run one in there. And then I'm going to take James Cook, 80-plus alternate rushing and receiving yards. You're muted.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a run-heavy script for sure. Both teams, especially in a one game, but both teams are just trending in that direction throughout the season. Anyway, to me, these teams aren't, there's not a crazy disparity in talent between the two when you really think about it. Buffalo's lost some key guys. Obviously, Pittsburgh lost Watt. I don't think Watt's expected to play. But it's not like Buffalo has a bunch of stars on defense where they can just totally, turn Rudolph over, 5 times or something like that. The big difference to me is Josh Allen. And I do think he's going to be the guy that carries them. I do like that pick there. Anytime touchdown. I think Buffalo's a little bit overrated. I think there's just a couple points too many. So I'll take Pittsburgh against the spread, Buffalo money line, and I do and I'm going to go with the under 62 Stephon Diggs receiving yards as my player prop. I think Joey Porter's had a pretty good year, and I think he should do pretty well against them.
Yeah, definitely.
Next game, afternoon. And Green Bay Packers at Dallas Cowboys -7. The total is 50.5. I'm excited for this one. I think this should be a good one.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that coming into it, I've certainly been a big fan of Green Bay throughout the season, and I picked them to make the playoffs in our last show, and they certainly lucked on in there. And
that was the only one you got right, by the way. That was the only one you got right when we were out of your play. We had like 6 games we disagreed on, and I got 5 right and you got 1, but I'll let you have that one. That was a good one.
Okay. Anyways, look, the Panthers couldn't score a touchdown. They scored a touchdown. They probably won that game. They had 2 touchdowns called back, and then that would have set up a whole chain reaction. But anyways, yeah, I'm a super big fan of Love, and I may or may not have sung a song to his praises on this podcast, but Dallas at home is really a different beast, and I don't know if the Packers are experienced enough. And I feel like Dallas has been here and been here before in this situation, and there's a lot of drama around the game with McCarthy facing his former team. I think I am going to take the over on the 50.5. I really think there's probably going to be some points scored in this game. But in terms of touchdowns and props, I think CeeDee Lamb scored 2 touchdowns. I think I'm going to go with that because Jair Alexander is questionable for this game. And I don't know if Eric Stokes can go out there. I think Eric Stokes was on IR. They maybe activated him, but either way, I don't think the Packers can really go out there and beat up on this Dallas defense. So I do think some points are scored, but the props that I've been rolling with that have always hit for me on this season was CeeDee Lamb anytime touchdown, and then Jordan Love over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Always hit for me. So those are going to be my 2 for this one.
Yeah, Love has been impressive down the stretch here. I think the Packers defense is coming on pretty well. We got some good young receivers. Aaron Jones is back healthy, making some plays. So I think this should be a good game. I agree with you on the over. I'm expecting a shootout in this one. I think the X factor or the difference is going to be CeeDee Lamb. I'm going over 99 receiving yards for CD, which is an aggressive number, but Jair doesn't travel. And they're going to put him in the slot, and I think it's like Keyshawn Nixon or some, Pac-12 rookie or something like that he's just going to be toasting for most of the game. I'm expecting a shootout. I'll take the Packers +7 for the points, but I will take Dallas on the money line to advance to the next round and maybe further than that. Next game up, LA Rams, left for dead. They sent out a letter to their season ticket holders before the season saying, be patient while we rebuild. We gave you a trophy 2 years ago. And now they made the playoffs. So I think that's pretty impressive for them. Facing the Detroit Lions, who are field goal favorites at home, point total of 51.5 for the Sunday night game.
Yeah, a lot of storylines going into this one. Matthew Stafford going back home to face his former team. And I really am fading the Lions so hard. I've been fading them all season, and now they have a matchup against a team that it's kind of 2 different philosophies: all in versus conservatism. And
schematically too. Schematically, they're polar opposites too.
Yeah. So I am. I think the largest wager I've probably placed to date will be on the Rams money line to win. Even though the Lions might be more talented, I think the Rams also have the more experienced quarterback who I trust to go down in these situations in a playoff game in high intensity and kind of remind the Lions of why you shouldn't have traded him away in the first place and maybe built around him. But in terms of props, I think the over is going to hit. I think there may be 80 points scored in this football game. So I'm taking Kyron Williams to score 2 touchdowns is plus 300. I like that. And then my lottery ticket parlay is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdown, Dave Montgomery touchdown, Kyron Williams touchdown. Why am I doing 3 like that?
You doing the shocker over there?
Yeah, Puka Nacua touchdown, and then Cooper Kupp touchdown. I might place a parlay on literally every kind of touchdown combination you can have, and the top 6 guys in odds.
The one I would caution you against Kyron 2 touchdowns because the Lions do have a pretty good run day. But other than that, sounds pretty good. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, you're good.
Land the plane.
Yeah, it's just I think that this is going to be a really good game, really nice shootout. But at the end of the day, I think that golf goes out there and probably throws one up, and then that'll seal the game.
Yeah, great minds think alike. This is the game I feel strongest about, and I am all over the Rams on this one. And I'm also expecting a shootout, but I do expect the Rams to win this game and maybe go into San Fran and knock off the divisional rival next year if you're trying to project the bracket a little bit. A couple reasons why. You have Jared Goff, who's, in my view, a fraudulent quarterback and been a fraudulent quarterback. And that's the reason why Sean McVay traded him to the Lions. And now Sean McVay is going to expose him. And just so everyone understands that he was really the one that was holding the Rams back when they had him. I also think that the loss of Sam Laporta is really, really going to hurt the Lions. We saw it when they played the Ravens. He was the one guy really making plays. Amon-Ra didn't do too much in that game, if I remember. You need a guy like that in a shootout type of script. There's no question about it. The other thing is Detroit just doesn't have the horses in the secondary to cover Puka or Kupp. They just don't. They just don't have the personnel there. They built the trenches up too much and went a little bit more too old-fashioned bite your kneecaps instead of getting some space athletes. So I think that's going to be their downfall. I feel really strongly about that. And I will go Rams money line with the over and Stafford over 275 passing yards. I think he's going to light them up. I don't think they're going to try to run it too much, to be honest. McVay's starting to borrow some Air Coryell concepts lately, and I think they're going to put that pass first offense on full display. Last game of the week, probably the least appealing from my perspective. Philadelphia Eagles -3 at the Tampa Bay Bucks. Total is 44. Both teams have had their struggles recently, but still probably should be a pretty competitive game.
Yeah, this one, this one's I think it'll be an ugly football game. I think Philly pulls it out, but both teams are kind of trending in the wrong direction, in my opinion. After the past couple of weeks, Tampa couldn't do anything that past game, and then Philly obviously pulling out Jalen Hurts, and we'll see what happens with the finger and AJ Brown, but I just think that at the end of the day, Philly's more talented, and I'm probably going to roll with the under 44, and I'm going to take Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown along with Philly's money line.
Yeah, Philly is really, really banged up. This is a tough game to peg. I mean, I've been riding Tampa most of the year. We do a tally site. Are you familiar with tally site? They just add a lot of analysts and content creators, and you pick every game against the spread every week, and they tally it all up. And it's a lot of the big heavy hitters like Shio Kapadia and I don't know, Mike Renner, stuff like that. We got to get you on there next year. But anyway, my whole blog does that, and I've been riding them all year. I just think their defense is getting a little old. Levante David isn't what he used to be. They lost some juice. I don't know. This is a hard one. If you tell me AJ Brown is definitely playing and at a high level, I think it's pretty clearly Philly. That remains to be seen. Did you get an update on that? Did he practice? He was limited today, right? I think he was.
I don't know.
Yeah, because that looked kind of bad, non-contact knee. But anyway, I think Philly is just too talented on on the depth chart. Personnel-wise, they haven't played up to it. Now there's rumors that Sirianni is on the hot seat, and if he doesn't get a couple wins, they might kick him out of town. I don't necessarily blame him. I mean, that's a damn good-looking roster. But anyway, I'm going to lay the 3, take the Eagles, and I'm going to throw a dart at Mike Evans' first touchdown, one of the most underrated receivers in the league. That is plus 650. Didn't really like too much here, but I said let's throw a little dart at the big man to try to do something against that Philly secondary that has really, really struggled in the last month.
Definitely. Any last thoughts here, boss?
So that's about it. Let's see. So let's run it down. You have Cleveland, KC, Buffalo, Dallas, Rams, and Eagles, right? So
Yep.
Our only difference as far as who's going to win is the first game where I have the Texans.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm picking, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm picking 4 dogs against the spread. So the league is designed for parity, and I think we're going to get some parity this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I certainly went chalk with most of the games, but would not surprise me if things get turned upside down and one of these lower teams, to your point, to like Pittsburgh, kind of goes out there and pulls off one more dark magic win, or Miami somehow wins in some slug snow game and Waddle and Mostert gives them a lift or anything like that. I think you're right. League definitely is designed for parity, and I'm excited. It's going to be a good weekend of football, and hopefully we will have our opponent. Well,
we will, and next week we'll get into a really deep preview on that. Really look forward to that. Until then, hope everybody enjoys the games.
Absolutely. Appreciate everybody for joining, and we will see you guys next Thursday.